And we are live.
Oh, got it. Got it.
Well, it is so good to be here with you again today, Julie. Uh-oh, you just muted yourself. And I lost your camera. So let's see. You have to come in and come back into the room with your other camera because it got shut off somehow. So yeah, your desktop camera is gone. The reality is, there you are. People don't realize we're trying to do this ourselves. Okay, we got you back.
Good.
Now you're looking at the ceiling, so you're going to have to flip your screen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It's like touch screen.
There you are.
There we are.
And I can tell that we are not on the original, no matter how hard I tried. So hopefully whoever is over there on the original one can send people over to us on the new one.
Is there anybody out there?
I need to actually
link?
Yeah, I need to have somebody train me how to do this.
We tried really hard.
I know we do, don't we? And I just have to figure out now. I think I can go back over to the other screen and let people know so that they can follow us to our new link. It's a different URL.
Oh, I know. And I posted that URL.
I know.
With all my stuff, sorry. You know, I was saying it'll be broken until we actually go live, right? And then it's like, no, it's just.
And so I have to see if I can find where that other one is so that I can adjust it.
Probably my Instagram thing is probably going to drive people nuts because it's directing them to that URL that no work. No working.
No. I'm just telling people to try going to our channel and then they'll see whether it's live.
Right.
Of course. Like, really? So I'm hoping the girls have actually found us, but we're going to go ahead and go. Yep. Some people just posted that we're here. So thank you guys so much for helping us with our technical difficulties.
You know what we're doing? Heck no, but we're going to have a good time not knowing what we're doing.
Yes, exactly.
We're killing it. We're killing it.
I love your coffee mugs with all their little sayings on it. It's so much fun.
Love those things. I don't collect Ray Dunn, but if I'm going to use it, I will buy it. I can't buy it just to put it in a, what do you call it? Like, you know, like on display.
Right.
I used to collect things that just were no purpose, but just display. And then finally I got tired of dusting them and I was like, why am I doing this? So now I'm very good. It's like, will I use it? Okay. Then it can come live at my house. If I'm not going to use it, it cannot come. No.
Well, welcome everybody. We have Julie with us today, and she's actually going to show you how it is that she created this card for our release page. And so I'm going to hand it over to Julie. I'm going to also try and make it so that the screen she's working on is going to be bigger.
Oh, wow.
How's that, Julie? It's all yours.
I saw that. That's looking good. Okay, yeah, this is the card I'm going to be working on today. I love this because number one, it's pretty much a single layer card. And number two, it's got kind of a rainbow effect. And number three, I just really love big words, really big words. And I love that this one takes up all the presence there. And I love this really groovy looking font. And so I was born in the 60s, the early 60s. And So I guess you could say I'm a child of the 70s. Yeah. So I don't know about, all the Woodstock stuff and what the Woodstock where they went and did all that.
Groovy.
Yeah, the groovy, Woodstock and all that. Yes, I was too young for that. But
I remember the clothes though, and this is very reminiscent of that, and the big
bell
words
bottoms and all that. I was like, okay, I'll never wear bell bottoms ever.
But I've been seeing young girls wearing them again, and they look so cute. Like
They
I do
too, but it's like a total flashback, right?
Yes.
To the days when we were. It was like, yep, I can remember my teenage cousins, wearing all the bell bottoms and the halter tops and just looking hip. And I was too
macrame. Macrame is back.
Oh yeah, my daughter does macrame, and she's done some beautiful wall hangings and things. And I'm like, okay, can you make for mama? I can put it on my wall because I'll never get around to it. I already have all kinds of other crafty crap, so I'm not going to get into another one. All right, so I'm going to
make it a groovy card.
I'm going to make a groovy card, and I'm going to set this aside so I can look at what I'm doing, and it's going to be my guide. But anyway, to start off with this, I need to get this rainbow effect right here onto a quarter sheet of cardstock. So I need to make a stencil, and I found that for me, using typing paper. Okay, I know nobody calls it typing paper anymore, but when I was in high school, we took typing classes. So I call it typing paper. I think the proper term now is copy paper. But I'm going to take this quarter sheet of typing paper, and I'm just going to fold it. Whoops, I folded it the wrong way, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so I'm going to fold it lengthwise. Okay, and there's just a reason, just so I'm not layering too many pieces at one time. And I'm grabbing this swirly die from the Swing and Slide set because I like the curvy lines to it. So I'm just going to set that up, and I'll probably use a little bit of washi tape. Washi tape is one of my favorite things of all time. And I'm just
the project so pretty when you're running it through.
Yes, it does. And I know usually I use all my ugly washi tapes, because if I buy variety packs and there's an ugly pattern in there, I'll use that for my utilitarian purposes. Or, things that I want to look pretty and decorative. I just use the ugly ones for stuff like this. But this was handy. It's on my desk. So anyway, I'm going to send this through my die cutting machine. And so through the magic television, it's already gone through, and I end up with this. And I've got this little swirl here. And usually what I do, because do I have a pencil? Yep, I do. Okay, I'm going to mark this with an L, because that tells me that's my left side. And because this is identical, I'm also going to mark that with an L. Now, the reason I did this and figured this out was because the curve here, this was created by hand. And so it's not perfectly symmetrical and equal. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
And so a lot of people wouldn't realize that I actually created that by hand and then converted it, through the power of computer, into what it became as far as a die goes. But you wouldn't know it when you look at it, that these curves are not exactly identical. And so I need to know the left side from the right side, because when I go to line it up and move it down, it won't match up.
Gotcha.
And so I was like, whoa, okay. So when you're making these prototypes. But anyway, so I've got 2 stencils now. I'm going to cut that in half. I'm going to set this aside right now. So I made a whole bunch of these, and now I have multiple stencils. And because they're all marked with an L, I know that this goes on the left-hand side as I'm working. Now, the reason why I have multiples is that because when I'm working with a water-based dye ink, the dye ink will start to soak and absorb into that. And then when I move to another color, I can end up contaminating the brush, and the ink will transfer. And I never at first I didn't think that was possible. And I was like, well, I'm ending up with mud. So yes, that can happen. So this is just typing paper, right? So it doesn't matter. You throw it away.
Right.
So you're not feeling like you're wasting.
Well, someone mentioned that, our packing slips would be perfect for that, because then you're making good use of that extra paper that comes with every order.
That extra paper, I gotta tell you, that extra paper, I actually use it. I save it all. And then when I have to ship a package to family, I use that paper. I have a box that I fill with those papers, and I just save them for shipping packages to family, to my son who's going to school at Eastern. When my daughter was over seas in Japan, I would use that paper. So that paper has gone far and wide and been recycled. So now I'm going to take my quarter sheet of cardstock. Oh, where did I put it? Oh, right here. Okay, so I've got a standard quarter sheet of cardstock, and I had a piece of tracing paper. I'm just going to use this to prevent me from getting ink all over my work surface. I know some people like to work on glass, but I don't know. I just like to work on typing paper, and then when I'm done with it, I toss it. Sometimes it ends up really pretty.
I actually like working on paper too, just because I get that transfer from the ink that was on the glass to the back of my project. And so it's like,
right, that happens to me every time. And it's like,
I
forget it. I can't work on glass. And I just find paper is the best thing of all. So anyway, okay, so I got some more washi tape here, and sometimes I use that to just kind of anchor this down where I want it.
Perfect.
Notice that I've tilted it a bit, and I'm making sure that the tips there are bleeding
over the edge.
Bleeding over the edge. I'm going to anchor that down. Now I'm going to start with Tutti Frutti. I'm working with Catherine Pooler's water-based dye inks, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, and they have such a huge range of colors now as well.
I love
so it's really fun that they keep coming out with, new, more current colors. So
yeah, it's like keep them coming.
Yeah.
So now I've got this brush. These are those blender brushes by
Picket
Fence Studios. Yes.
The originals.
I could never get a great blend until I got a set of these brushes. And now I'm like, wow.
Well, you have such a gentle touch with those too. I remember when you first showed them at a class where you were teaching, and where you hold the brush so that it gives you that.
If you want a really soft, pale blend, I hold it out and let it extend, so I'm not putting so much pressure right here. So I'm holding out here at the end, and then when I blend, there's not so much pressure, because the closer I get and the harder I press, it intensifies. So if you want something really soft, just hold it out at the end.
Yeah,
it keeps me from gripping it too tight and pressing too hard.
Right.
Because my leverage is way over here.
Gotcha.
Especially when you're working with mid to darker tones. You may not have to do that with pale colors of ink, but with mid to darker, if you want to get that really soft effect.
Yeah. So do you use those on your face too with your makeup?
No. Well, I guess if I wanted really red cheeks, I could do that. So I'm going to start over here on the left-hand side and start blending my color. And you can see, and I'm going to come back and forth a little bit more here because I'm trying to work some of that ink darker on the left. And then
I noticed that, and I'm like, that is so clever. I love how you graded that color from left to right.
And then just let it kind of soften out as you move towards the right-hand side.
Someone shared a tip actually in the comment section that's very clever. They said, I like using vellum for my stencils because it doesn't absorb the ink as quickly, and then she can see where it was previously placed.
Yes, that works really nice too.
I thought you were so clever to use this in the first place. What a fantastic way to be an out of the box thinker. Like, I don't know that it would have dawned on me to make these wonderful stripes in the curved form with it,
Well,
like,
the
so
idea to
clever.
do the curvy retro thing was my daughter. She had seen me design a card. She goes, I love the stripes, but can't you do them in a wavy line?
Oh my gosh, Haley, you clever girl.
Yeah, clever girl. And I was like, well, no. And then I thought about it for a minute and I went, well, wait a minute. Just wait a hot minute. Yes, I can. Because I got this
Yes.
swirly thing. So now here I've got a new one. See, and I could use this one, but I'm going to yellow in my
Right.
next color, and it will pick up the ink that's sitting on the surface there and start to contaminate the next stripe. And I really didn't want that. There are times when you might like that. And then there are going to be times where you're like, no, that's not what I was going for. So you're going to have to make the call.
Right.
But I like that this typing paper, I can see through it, just like with the vellum, which is also a really good idea. And so I'm going to move this red stuff out of my way so I don't grab it by mistake. And then I label my washi brush or these brushes with a little bit of washi tape. So I know that, oh, I use this one for yellow.
That's very clever, because with the dark brush, you're like, what color is this? Because the original ones actually had like a more of a brownish tone to them. And so it wasn't as easy to tell. Right. And so it's like, there's no need to buy a new brush. Just use the ones that you have and label them, unless, of course, you have to have all the matching,
Well, I actually like to increase my collection of these brushes because I like having them reserved for each color.
Yes. Yes.
And I've tried in the past to wash brushes out, but it's tedious.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't got time for that.
Yeah, it's again, how many colors do you think you have, Julie?
Well, the ideal would be to have a brush for every color, right? But yeah, I mean, I try to stay in the same color family. Like all the yellows get used with this. All the oranges get used with an orange brush.
Yes. Again, dark to light. I can see the effect coming through. It is awesome. So do you have a favorite color palette right now, or do you just I noticed lately you've been using more yellow, which is fun.
I for some reason have been into yellow lately.
It's so pretty. It's so happy. It's a
yes,
happy
it's
color.
such a happy color.
Yes.
So I've been into yellow a lot, and I don't really know why yellow, but
having your kids there has made you happy and exuberant. You know what? I'm going to let people know that they need to start leaving some comments for us, because once again, we're going to be doing a drawing for somebody who's joined us today. We'll just randomly draw a winner so that they can have a gift certificate to our store to be able to get some of these fab new products. And so, go ahead and leave a question for Julie. I'm watching the comments so that I can ask her any kind of questions that you might have in mind. And, it allows you a chance to get to know Julie a little bit better. Julie and I have been friends for a very long time.
Really long time.
And Julie's story about us meeting is really a crack up.
Well, when we first met, that was back in the days of Split Coast Stampers.
Yes.
And we were hanging out there and realized that we both lived in the same state, and then realized, oh my gosh, you're not that far from me on Whidbey Island. Thank goodness for Split Coast Stampers, right? It brought so many people together in this industry, and hobbyists, just so many friendships that have become lifelong friendships were forged on Split Coast Stampers.
Yes.
So yeah, it was kind of a lucky thing that brought us together. And I remember you invited me to lunch at your house in Issaquah at the time. And my husband was absolutely aghast that I was going to go to the house of a woman I had never met, that I had met only online. And what if she was an axe murderer? And I was like, look at her avatar. Does she look like an axe murderer? She's got 2 little girls. Yeah, how do you know she's got 2 little girls? She just says she's got 2 little girls. And I'm like, I just don't think the axe murderers hang out on Split Coast Stampers. It's not just, why would they do that? So he very reluctantly sent me on my way. And I got down to your house and met your girls, and we had lunch, and you made caprese.
Oh, I love it.
And you had fresh tomatoes from your garden and basil from your garden. And for me, it was like super cool because I had never had that before. And when you showed me how to do it, I was like, oh my gosh, I am going to go home. I'm going to make this, and I'm going to be so Martha. Martha. I was so excited that I would be able to make something so chic and elegant. It was so easy, and everybody, and I tell you, I took that to every potluck party.
And you were the star of the show?
Was Julie going to bring that caprese stuff? And pesto, I'd never had pesto before. It was just like, holy moly, a whole new world of flavor.
It's all good stuff, isn't it?
It is.
Well, we have a few questions here for you, Jules. And the first one is, any tips for where you get your inspiration from? Like, this color palette is magnificent. And so it's like, where do you spot things?
Part of it is you look at mood boards on Pinterest, and I have, because I suck at color. I'm terrible at color combos. So I look on Pinterest, and I have a board of inspiration called Color My World. Because I can't think of anything really brilliant. So I use that to go and find, and a lot of times, sometimes they're just, rows of color palettes that people have just made up and shared. There's a place, Color Seeds or something like that.
Yes.
They post a photograph, and from the photograph, like, could be a nature image, it could be food, it could be, sailboats in the harbor.
Right.
They take that photograph, and then they pull the colors from that photograph and block them out underneath or alongside the photograph.
Right.
So then you get this idea of like, oh, okay, those look so pretty together. And basically, that's what I do, is I go and I find something that really appeals to me. And usually, and I know that a lot of people are a fan of purple. I am not a fan of purple. So will not see any inspo boards for me that have a lot of purple. I usually avoid purple.
Yeah. Somebody was wondering what the above Lime Ricky, what that color was. I think I saw that it was meant to be, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
So it's actually, if they go to the home page or the release page for the current release, those colors are actually listed right below the samples that have the newest Summer of Stamping dies and the hot foil stamp.
Right.
So all those colors are actually listed right there that I used on this card.
Yeah, that graphic that has all of them stacked is just so pretty.
Yeah.
I have to say that I love the release pages and the projects that you've been creating for those. It just is so pretty. It looks so good. So someone will have to put a link in here for us to our release page so people can take a peek at that. And what colors that you have right now there, Jules?
This one is All That Jazz.
All That Jazz. Yes. I mean, just the progression of colors that you use. You're always so clever with that. They wanted to know if your inspiration board is public or not.
It should be, yeah. If you go to I think it's just Julie Ebersole on Pinterest.
I think it is too. I'm going to quickly look it up here so that we can see if I can get that
board
correct.
is public.
Julie Ebersole. You're going to come up though all over the place because of your cards. I need to figure out how to just put in your.
Oh yeah.
I know there's like a way to explore, but I need people because everything is tagged with Julie Ebersole.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to task somebody else to go do that.
Find
having me do that.
Yeah.
So maybe Heather or Amy, who's helping out today, can go find your Pinterest board.
So I got a little bit of ink smudge on my panel.
Yeah.
I know that because I got some transfer onto my hands, and then I got a little nick of color up there. So if that bothers you, one thing that you can do, because yes, it bothers me, even though I tell myself it's a handmade card, you're demoing this live, cool your jets. You can sometimes take a sand eraser if it's really pale.
Right.
And sand that away.
Those sand erasers come in handy for so many different things. They're great for foiling if you happen to over foil a little bit. And
yeah.
Colored pencil. It works good with colored pencil.
I'm looking for my big brush. I usually have my clean sweep brush that I use to kind of sweep all this stuff away. But there, I've reduced it greatly. You almost can't even see it. There's another one right there. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but
yeah, you know what? It doesn't show on camera actually. There was a question about how do you determine which size of blending brush to use?
You know, a lot of it just depends on if it's a really tiny detail. For these brushes, they came in a graduation of sizes.
Right.
So usually what I do is I decided, because often that color of that soft pale blue for skies,
right,
bigger brush is going to yield that soft effect, and it's large. So I dedicated this one because I knew I would use this large size most often for doing things like sky.
Yes.
And then when I'm doing things like leaves and stuff like that, I decided, I frequently use green, so this next size down. Now, when it comes to reds, I don't typically use red in a large area. I tend to use reds smaller, is more like accent colors. So then I decided, a smaller brush is going to be fine for that. And the same with yellows. And then mint, I think I need to get a big brush for my mint. But for right now, this is what I've got. So this is what I'm using. And it worked for this particular size shape. But if I were doing a big, like a sky or an ocean, I would prefer to have a bigger brush like this for my mint ink pad.
Right. That makes total sense.
I just kind of work it that way. And because I have a limited set of brushes. And so until I expand the brushes in my collection, that's just kind of how I made those decisions. I know nothing super, nothing genius, but see, here's all my stencils, and whoop, into the paper recycle bin they go. And there they go. They serve their purpose. So now I've got this really pretty background. And I'm going to take the die. I love this die. It just speaks to me.
You know what? I love when you say that too, because these are words that Julie actually uses when she talks or when she writes a little note. And so Not only are you a clever designer, you are a clever communicator.
Just like, oh, this just, I love this expression, and expressions that I love that I would say in real life, that I love having them in a concrete, format that I can use on my cards and stuff.
Right.
So I'm going to position this, and I'm going to try to get as dead center as I can.
You have an extraordinary eyeballing eye.
Well, here's a
Any
trick
tips
that also
for that?
helps. Yeah, when you look at something like, okay, I'm looking at this right now. If I flip it upside down, I can now see, actually, I'm further over here on this side because my brain isn't trying to read the words. My brain is now just looking at the overall dimension of the shape, and I can see that I'm further off to the right than the left when I'm upside down. So a lot of times if I need help, I will do that. Now, I will tell you right now, I am going to be trimming this down anyway.
Okay.
So I'm not going to worry about it.
Gotcha.
My base card is actually 4 inches wide instead of 4 1/4.
Right.
And part of that was to allow for, in case I ended up with this little bubble. See where the tip of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
There?
So it's just kind of going to allow for that. Plus, I really, for some reason, I like that slightly narrower but still longer card, just slight, and just shaving that 1/4 of an inch off to make it a 4 inch wide and 5 1/2 inch long. For some reason, I like that. And so it's like, oh, you know what?
You also love 4-bar cards.
And I love 4-bar cards. Yes.
Does this die fit on the 4-bar?
You know what? Let's check. Gonna grab my, it's gonna be easier to grab a little ruler here. You'll have about 1/8 of an inch on each side. So it will take up.
Right. That will be all the card. That could actually be kind of cool though.
Yeah, it would be. So, but anyway, okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to run it through my Gemini Junior here. I just got powered up. So it's going to get noisy because it's a noisy machine, but it's got power.
There you go. And it helps you with your tendonitis too, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny. The words that are being shared here that we know that are yours, is one of them is embiggen.
Yeah. Embiggen, yeah.
And gorge and mondo. Mondo, I think, is totally one of your words. We have a question here from our friend Joan, who's amazingly talented. She said she struggles with the simple cards. Yeah, and so she was wondering if you have any tips that you could share with us.
A lot of times, see, and I struggle with anything that's technique heavy or multiple layers. I just find, for me, the breathing room of a white card is just very refreshing.
Right.
So, to be honest, I often start with what is the point of my card? What am I trying to say to the person I want to send it to? So I focus on that. And I might grab a sentiment. I might grab an image. Sometimes I'll also include some sort of a background, and that may be a texture, or it may be a background stamp, or it may be an accent type thing, but I'll start with 3 elements and that's it. And then I'll decide, once I've used those or worked with those, do I need to take it any further, or is it okay? Right. This card has no embellishment. It's all just paper and ink. And for me, I was hesitating because when I first made it, I was like, I love this exactly as it is, but should I add something more to it? Should I? dress it up a little more. And in the end, I said, you know what? No, because I feel so satisfied with how it looks. And when you hit that point where you feel satisfied,
Right.
leave it alone.
Yeah.
And the other thing to do sometimes, if you're not feeling satisfied, is let it sit overnight, walk away, leave it alone, come back the next day. And if that feeling has changed and you now feel satisfied when you look at it, then you know that you've got it, you've nailed it.
Right.
The other thing to keep in mind is there are certain layouts. I keep thinking someday I should do a little book that has like the go-to layouts for clean and simple cards.
Right.
Or like, these are my go-to formulas. Whenever I'm in doubt, this is what I go for because it's simple and it works. And in my mind, you don't have to reinvent everything or have to come up with some original insane layout, because look at the space you're working with. This is your canvas. That's it. You're limited by this, and there's only so many different layouts you can concoct.
Yeah.
On a canvas this size, it's not like a room.
Right.
You know, a room is a whole different story, but this is such a tiny canvas. And so I just focus on, like I said, 3 elements: image, sentiment, possible background or accent, and then take it further if I need to. But a lot of times that's really all I need.
Right. Right.
To make the kind of card that I really, you know, I'm always shooting for, if I walked into Papyrus, what are the cards that draw me?
Yes. Yes.
And those
for those who don't have a Papyrus, you know, again, it's just a really nice upscale stationery store that has exquisite cards that are already completed. So
yeah, and so I'm always aiming for that upscale, how do I say it? Handmade, but not homemade.
Right.
You know, handmade quality look is what I'm always going for. And that's just kind of that's where my comfort zone is. So I stay with that, because anytime I try to go about making a card if I go technique first,
right,
I almost never am happy with the end result.
Right.
I'm never happy with the end result. So I am not a technique girl. I'm more about what is the end result I want. And if there's technique involved to get that end result, and it's not messy.
Yes, Julie does not like to get her hands dirty.
I do not like to get stuff on my hands. And so I know I'm being really delicate, but when I talk and work at the same time, I have to slow myself down because I'll end up ripping something because I'm so busy talking. So that's why I'm moving so slow. Okay, so I've die cut my image now, and that's going to fit in there. But first I need to get this onto my base card. And I want to have it pop up to create the relief effect that we have going on here. And I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up.
Yeah, it does. It shows it really well.
I just really love that effect. So I actually went ahead and, you know, through the magic of television, I've already die cut a bunch of these.
Gotcha.
Cardstock.
Yes.
So, oh, and the next thing I need to do is trim this down to fit my base card. So I'm going to do that trimming first, just to make sure so is it tall enough? So here I like to go flush this way to make sure that the top, it's better that this is slightly larger than my base card being just slightly larger than
right,
this.
Right.
So now I'm going to get my paper trimmer. And I like to use this tonic one a lot. So I know I'm going to go for 4 inches, pretty close. And sometimes this takes me a little bit of futzing.
Right.
Because I know that I was not completely on center This is getting better.
Yeah, there you go. The upside down. It works out really well when you're flipping your card.
Yeah, it just, I don't know what, there's probably some, you know, like scientific brain logic to this. And see, and I can see that that's a hair.
And then there'd be me. I just pull out a ruler.
Yeah, you pull out a ruler, and I just like, no, let's just shave a little more off.
Right.
And it works. Now, I will say, when I first made this, I botched the first one.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had any idea how many things hit the circular file before they make it onto that marketing page, the release page? You would be shocked. But yeah, we don't always get it right the first time. So,
and it's so true.
I am going to take, originally, this is what I did. I put adhesive all over the front of this, and I slapped this down on there. And what I didn't realize is that these inner parts had shifted.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because there's just a little delicate thing hanging on to that right there, right?
Yep.
So I learned the second time around, pop these in there.
Right, to get it back to the correct alignment.
To make sure everything is all aligned correctly.
Yes, good tip.
Okay, the other thing I'm noticing, and I bet I let them fall by the wayside. Remember these reverse things? Or
yes.
I accidentally let those all fall out instead of saving them.
That's okay. We'll envision them. But yes, yeah. You're right. Again, yeah, I think I saw you send them over to the right, but I'm not sure if it's underneath the cutting pad or not.
I don't know where they all went. Here's one. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I had forgotten that I needed to save those bits.
Well, I got you talking, so
I know, because
I'm pretty impressed that you can actually construct the card and talk. So
things, but I was talking to Ellen earlier and talking about how I am a terrible multitasker, just terrible. I can't do two things at one time. Well, I can do dishes and talk on the phone at the same time. That, and I can fold laundry. So whenever I call my mom, I'm usually doing dishes. So I'm just going to hold this temporarily in place. Until I can flip that over. Okay, there we go. So now everything is lined up where it should be, right?
Looks good.
Okay, so yeah, I probably should have neutralized that, but I didn't. Sometimes I need to use a little bit of tape to hold those guys in place. So I'm going to take this off now. For some reason, I find it easier to work from the back.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense because you can really see how it aligns.
So now I can take my card, and then this is like one of those things I don't normally do, but for this, I'm going to wallpaper the whole front of this.
Oh.
No, it's a lot, isn't it? But I'm also going to be especially cognizant of where I'm putting the tape as far as where that die goes, because those little bits need somewhere to go, right?
Right.
So hopefully I've got it covered well. My tape runner just ran out, so.
Of course.
Isn't that the way? I was just like, of course, on TV. That's, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to line this up. And what you do is you hold your breath.
Looking good.
Okay. So now I've got these. I don't need this washi tape anymore. And like I said, when I'm not talking, I go through these steps so much faster.
Well, you're doing great. And I know that a lot of people are enjoying watching you because, you know, they're learning all these tips and things that you do when you're creating your cards to make it successful.
A lot of things that you don't think about. Like if someone were to ask me, I'd be like, I don't know.
Right. Because you just do it naturally.
Okay, so at this point, those little bits that you save, now is the time to pop those in.
Cool.
Here's
Oh,
one
yeah.
that gets popped in. And then it's like, okay, I missed. Oh, there's a little. Now, when it gets super tiny,
Tweezer time?
It could be tweezer time. I need to trademark that. It's tweezer time.
Well, I know you love those little pointed ones. I remember you begging me to bring them into the store, and it's like, I get it now.
The best tweezers ever. This angled head right there just can get into tight spots. But this is such a teeny tiny thing that a lot of times you can take one of these jewel pickers.
Yes.
And it will grab a hold of it. And then you can set it down in there. Perfect. So it just all depends, you know, and I can see, you know, I'm missing the little green thing that goes in there. And I'm like, well, it's a super teeny tiny little thing. So I'm sure it's gone into the oblivion of dust on my floor.
Right. It's like the magic of the crafting project is that you're always looking for something.
I remember once, where was I? And this was back in the day when cling stamps were still popular, or wood mount stamps were still popular. And I trimmed out these rubber stamps and they had adhesive on the back, and then you put them on a wood block. And I had a session of trimming and everything, and didn't realize until my son told me as we were in the grocery store, Mom, what's stuck on your butt? And I had little bits of rubber stuck on the back of my hands. I was like, okay, yeah. Need to do a check before we go out the house into public.
Honey, can you check that Mom doesn't have anything?
Check that Mom doesn't have any rubber butt. Oh. No. Okay, so now comes where we get all the dimension. And for this particular card, I found instead of trying to mount a whole layered thing, it actually worked pretty well to just take some glue. And this is one of those Zig 2A glue pens. And I'm going to be careful, you know, don't go outside the realm of the shape here. So you can do this however it works best for you. Some people like to glue them all together in a stack separately and then mount it on top. And sometimes I like to go ahead and do it this way.
So do you find it easier to actually put the glue when it's on the surface rather than like the separate piece that's off to the side? Or
I'm not understanding your question.
So you have all those other pieces. Like I'm thinking that for me, it might be easier to actually do it on the loose piece rather than the one that's already on the card front. But you just were able to like zoom, 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 zoom.
Yeah, it just depends on the size of your, you know, as long as you're being careful and not slopping glue everywhere. This worked out good. So it's like, okay, I'm going to continue layering all these up. So you may find you want to just glue all these together first and then stack the whole thing on top. It really doesn't matter which way you do it.
Okay.
Just do whatever floats your boat.
What's easiest for you?
Yeah, there's no right or wrong.
So when you get to the really, like, I know that you've done some amazing videos that teach people how to use the really intricate little bits and even layer those up. So I know you love the 2A glue pen. What other adhesives do you like to use for like stacking bits up higher?
Another one that I like to use is, I tore off all the labels, but this is that Tombow Mono Multi glue, white glue. There's also, oops, see, I can't talk.
Okay.
See how I'm lining all that up? See, tweezers.
Yes.
Tweezers really help, and you kind of can go around and like pinch things, which kind of brings them into alignment.
Yes. And that glue has a little bit of a dry time, so it allows you to like shift it ever so slightly without making a mess.
This one actually has a little even more open time than this one.
Okay.
So it just all depends on how fast you're working. This one has a little bit of give. Once you put it down, you can slide it around. You just don't want to be so heavy-handed with it that it's squishing out the sides, right? If you're just doing it on this separately, you can do it this way too. Glue all these together. Once you get them all glued together, go ahead and mount those.
Right. How many layers do you have there?
I've got like two. I think I've got 2 layers on top of the base right now. And I would probably go all the way with all of these.
So how many is that total?
That would make a total of 5, including the one that was first set in.
Gotcha.
At the beginning, that would make a total of 5. Now this is actually 110-pound Nina.
Okay.
Really wanted to create that chipboard effect.
Right.
So really thick. So I used 5 layers of, and you can see how thick that ends up getting.
Nice. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And here on this one, there was 5.
Right.
110 pound. Now the card itself and the panel are all 80 pound.
Gotcha.
Which is fine. 80 pound really makes a nice card base. So I know some people prefer 110 pound card base, but I'm good with 80. I just, whenever I want to make those faux chipboard effects, I will often reach for the 110 pound to do it. But anyway, let's just pretend I've glued all these down, unless you want to watch me continue to glue them. Now is the time.
Actually, it was great that you did do some other layers, because that little tweezer tip of getting it to go together perfectly is excellent. I really like that. Just
make sure before you start gluing the layers, but after the base, you get your little bits glued in, because it's hard after you get all these to try to get those little bits down in proper.
Yes.
They end up getting squished, or they drop down in there, and then it's like, oh, then you have to dig them out to get them all nice. So it's like, no, start when everything is as close to flat as possible. And get your bits in, and then start building all your layers up for the nicest finish. So you just keep going. And then of course, when you get to the end, this one's going to go on top.
Yeah.
And this
looks so good.
I know. I love this card so much. I want to marry it.
Yeah. It's so genius. The concept behind it and the way that you pulled it together is just,
And usually that's when I'm in my comfort zone and I'm in my element, is when I keep it more minimalistic than when I try to go, anytime anybody asks me, oh, do a technique. And it's like, oh God, please don't make me do a technique, because
your technique is plain and simple.
It's just, I'm not that girl. I'm the girl that has this end result in mind. And then if the technique is involved to get there, okay.
Yeah, it's always been like, whenever you create, even when we took those classes that were like super involved,
right?
You actually would pull it back to being more you. Then it was just really fun to watch what you would create. It was good.
I can still remember being in a Tim Holtz class back then it was called CHA, right? But now it's called Innovation. But I remember being like the only person in the room that had rubber gloves on.
I remember that too. And you got teased mercilessly. No,
yes, he didn't cut me any slack. He was like, oh, girl. I'm like, sorry, if you want me to get dirty and play in the mud pit with you, I gotta have the glove.
Somebody wanted to know if we'd already talked about how we met and decided to collaborate. We talked about how we met, but I don't even know how we decided to collaborate.
It happened at a time when my parents were experiencing some health issues, and I needed to be available for them. And you said, why don't you come do some blog stuff on, with me, it's not too much, not overwhelming. You can, do something, once a week, and it's not, going to be this heavy duty, and it worked as far as my schedule went and helping my parents when they were dealing with some health issues. Mm-hmm. And from there, eventually it was like, oh, YouTube, this thing called YouTube.
Yes, I remember that.
You want to try and do some videos? I don't know how, but okay, I'll see what I can do. So then we started doing some of that, and that's how Hello Monday was born.
Right.
Because they always aired on a Monday. And then when it came to the stamps and first it was just stamps. It was,
yes,
you wanted to have an exclusive line and asked me if I'd give a go at, because I was talking about, well, I wish I had this, or I wish this existed or that existed. And you're like, well, why don't you do it? You do it. You design them and I'll make them. And so, okay. Oh, I know, that's how Ellen and I, kind of do things. Woo, what? Okay.
Our answer is always like, I think I can figure that out.
But and so I learned a lot behind the scenes of as far as what goes into the production of a set of stamps. And what's really interesting, I was thinking about this the other day about how the industry has evolved, and from the wood mount world to the clear stamp world.
Right.
And a lot of times what you see in a stamp set, like for example, this one here, Stay Cool.
I love that stamp set too, by the way. It's like the way you can piece those things together.
And I've got a great video coming up Saturday on the YouTube channel for Ellen Hudson that's going to feature some very different ways to use this set, like 6 different ways I use the set, the images in the set. So I'm really like super, super stoked.
Right.
Like, oh my God, I love these. So, but anyway, when we first started out, a whole release could be what you see now in one clear set. That would be an entire wood mount release.
Yes.
And so now the industry has evolved into, oh, that's a set, not a whole release. So it's a very different world now. And then the time that it takes to come up with not just this, but okay, so maybe we need 3 of these or 4 of these. And then
kind of coordinate and work off of each other
and coordinate the die.
Previous. Yeah.
I had to learn how to create die lines and prep the files to get sent to the manufacturer that would produce them for us. And so, and I can remember touring the facility and seeing how, it's like, oh my gosh, it is unbelievable from conception to finished product, the stages
that's really cool
that products go through. And sometimes I kind of have to like, look what you learned.
Yes.
Look what you learned on your own. I mean, it took a long time. If there had been a class, wow.
There is no class.
There is no class, that teaches you this stuff. So it's like took years to figure all that stuff out, and us working together and, putting all the pieces into place, and then, getting to where it is now, the summer of stamping. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, you've done an extraordinary job of, putting these products together this summer. I'm in love with all the pieces and seeing how other people use them. Like this last blog hop. Oh my goodness.
I
People need to
know,
go
right?
and take it and leave a comment there too. You got to leave a comment here to get a gift certificate and leave a comment on the blog hop for another gift
Absolutely.
certificate, but you'll get so inspired too.
Oh yeah. I mean, what's what's interesting is all the samples that are on the release page. When I work on making those, I try not to look at what anybody else on our, in-house design group is doing, so that I don't get influenced by their ideas. So I kind of put on blinders and develop all the designs for everything. And then I wait until the hop to go look at what everybody else has done, because I know they're going to see something that I didn't and come
Right.
up with, something that's just going to blow my mind. And I'm going to sit there and go, oh, why didn't I think of that? And it happens every single time. And then there'll also be a customer out there that does something with the stamps that I had not imagined
Right.
them being used in that way. And it's always really fun and very, very rewarding to see somebody take the product I designed and run with it and come up with something I never even wasn't even a twinkle.
Right.
That's really fun.
I know that I really appreciate it when people use their hashtags, because it allows us to then go and find those projects so that we can come in and leave a comment or share it on our Instagram feed. And, so it's like, remember to put your hashtags on too.
Oh yeah.
It's like Essentials by Ellen, or EBE by Julie, or some EBE Summer of Stamping, something along those little hashtags that we follow along so we can find those projects.
Yeah. So you can follow hashtags, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm like the worst at text. So
yeah,
it took me a long time before I figured out, oh, I don't have to type this in every time. I can follow it. So whenever something does pop up, then I'll catch it. But it took me the longest time to figure that I could follow that hashtag. And then, because I thought you could only follow people.
Right.
So now I'm like, what? No, I can follow this hashtag and then see the stuff that's hopping up. I don't have to type it in or remember to type it in, or what was that hashtag again?
Exactly.
So, I mean, like, how many billion hashtags out there in the world?
Yes.
So yeah. So
somebody wanted to know about the Heidi Swap mat. And we do have it in the store. At least we did. Sometimes products come and go. I think it's still in the store. Maybe someone can check on that for me.
I don't know if it's still in the store, but I tell you what, I love it because it's magnetic, and it came with this cool ruler that I can use to anchor things down when I need to.
Yeah.
And the one thing I didn't realize is that the inches run this way. They do not run this way. This way is metric.
Yes.
This way is imperial.
Yes.
So I couldn't figure out one day when I was doing something like, why is this off?
Right.
Off. And then it dawned on me, hello, duh. This is metrics, girl.
Right. And it's not quite square. You can see that those little squares are not square.
So I'm like, okay, how many years did that go by before I figured that out? Because it just wasn't registering. And so then I'm like, oh, okay, now I know. But it also came with these nifty little magnets.
Right.
These little magnets that will hold things down. Like sometimes I use them to keep my card from shifting, and
or something that's positioned.
If I want to I want to see if that will go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I like having the whole work surface be like that. And a lot of times too, it's nice to have those magnets for little dies.
Right.
It'll latch onto those magnets, and then it's less likely to get lost.
Right.
If I toss it over here. I have that little dish, that magnetic dish. That's a good one too.
Right. Yes.
I have.
To keep all the little bits. So the bits don't get lost.
Little tiny dies.
Yeah.
Usually for little paper pieces, I keep like a little bowl
Right
on my desk for the little paper pieces. And I was kind of like, oh, during this demo, I forgot to hang on to my little. It would have been sitting in that bowl there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably time for us to wrap things up. But again, leave us a comment before you part ways so that you're going to be entered into the live drawing here, because it's right here on the chat. And so you are also always welcome to leave comments for Julie on all her videos, because they're so appreciated, because there's so much work that goes into everything that you do. And I feel so lucky. I feel so lucky to be able to work together with you. It's just, you're such a dear friend, and I appreciate it so much.
We're kind of like peas and carrots, right?
Exactly. We fit together really good.
I always remember that picture Christina Werner took of us at CHA. And your little scooter.
Yes, when I broke my arm, my foot.
Around in your little scooter, and I got crouched down behind you. And I'm like, I need to find that photograph and get it blown up and have that, framed or something, because that's kind of Julie and Ellen. Peas and carrots.
I know. And then she drew those scarves. We don't have a moped. We have a scooter.
And she drew me a little sidecar, so it looked like I was in a sidecar next to you. It was just hysterical.
I know it was. It was just awesome.
Good times, good times.
Yes, I look forward to those days when we get back together again and have fun laughing together in person. But this has been fun. I appreciate you doing this so much together with us.
Thank you for letting me come on and do my thing, and keeping me on path when I get the squirrel effect. Wow.
Well, I love the squirrel moments. So those are good. But again, thank you everybody so much for watching and for hanging with us, for supporting us, because we couldn't do this without you. So thank you for shopping with us and supporting our private label products that Julie designs. I'm always so excited every time I get a new release, and I get to take a sneak peek at it. And there are times I'm like, Julie, I don't get it. Can you explain to me what I'm looking at here?
There's always a method to my madness.
Yes, there is. So yeah, and it's a good madness. Yeah, because there's a good method behind it. But love to you all, and again, thank you so much for joining us.